What up, dude? So the question that I'm going to tackle today is, what is the difference between flat ground velocity and mound velocity, right? So what's the correlation? What's the difference? Is there a chart that we can implement and put together to kind of give us like, oh, if I'm throwing this hard on a flat ground, what is my mound velo? I think the question was stemmed because I made a post a few months ago, and by a few months I probably mean like 4 months ago, and it was about me throwing a flat ground at 97. And I remember saying in the content piece, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to throw 97, that's going to be 101, 100 miles an hour on the mound. The reason I say that was because it was more of a personal thing. Throughout my entire career, I've always been about -3, -4 in a flat ground, and then when I get up on a mound, like I said, it's probably +3, +4 from that flat ground. But the interesting piece, like always when it comes to throwing in general or just sports and performance, is everyone's different. Now, I think the single piece that I guess I want to talk about and elaborate on is the mental component to this, right? Because I also think people throw flat grounds and then they get like a pretty good reading and they're excited about it. And then they want to know, like, well, if that's a flat ground at this, like the mound's got to be harder, right? Because the slope gives us a little bit added momentum. So I guess I'll talk about two pieces. The first piece is the mental component, being that when we're on a mound, maybe things inside, between the ears change. Having performance issues or knowing that, the brain sends the body sends the signal to the brain saying, yo, we're on a mound. And every time we're on a mound, we know from past experience that we need to put the ball here and put the ball there and be sure that we're controlling this and that. And it almost gives you that kind of mental restriction, even if it's subconscious, it's kind of just that sensory awareness. Whereas like if you're on the mound, it just, for some reason, like I said, it subconsciously changes. And maybe that freedom that you had in like a flat ground isn't quite there. So like I said, the freedom part, right? So anytime we throw anytime we throw a flat ground, it could be a little bit different because the body's not sending that signal to the brain saying like, dude, like we need to put the ball here, we need to put the ball there, like we need to throw strikes. Coach tells us if we don't throw strikes and this and that. So when there's a flat ground occurring, there's not really any of that, right? Like your flat grounds are essentially for working on stuff, spinning breaking balls, just kind of getting your work in or whatever. So it creates a little bit of more of a freedom aspect, right? And I'm really big on creating that freedom. So I think, like I said, with a lot of times with guys is maybe they'll express more velocity in a flat ground just because of that subconscious kind of barrier. Now, if you want to take a deeper dive into that, then I would encourage you to sign up for a consult because I love talking about that stuff. And I've been someone that's also struggled with that in the past as well, is that kind of restriction. And I was always someone that threw exceptionally well bullpens and exceptionally well flat grounds, and I'd get into a game and I'd suck. So if you want to take a deeper dive, link in the caption, you'll see a consult option. Be sure to check that out. But and then the next piece is, I think, obviously it's more of a physical piece, right? So we see a ton of breakdowns occur on the mound due to the slope than probably anywhere else. So flat grounds, usually we're pretty much in sync, everything's on time, we're expressing efficient energies and forces, and we're doing this and that, and everything's really well. So therefore we're going to be able to express more efficient, effortless power output. And then when we get on a mound, like I said, breakdowns occur because of the slope gives us more of this momentum aspect that maybe we're not necessarily equipped for. We see a lot of instability issues because of that added momentum. We're not able to stabilize because of the potential velocity that our body is moving. So that's where breakdowns happen, and that could also be a reason why your mound velocity is not maybe as fast as your flat ground velocity. But again, the reason why is because for me personally, I've always been a guy, like I said, -3, -4 on a mound. But as I came back from this surgery, I just became a lot more efficient. I worked with Dr. Heenan with a strength program, 90-mile formula strength program. I'll include the link to that with a $100 coupon code as well if you're interested in signing up for that. But I was just able to increase my strength, which increased my stability, and that allowed me to move a lot more efficient, not only in flat grounds, but to be able to do that on the mound. And like I said before when talking about mechanics, right, like the added momentum, we need to make sure that we're able to stabilize that momentum on the mound. And that was something that, again, I struggled with, but now as I came back, I was kind of relatively the same from flat ground to mound, right around 95, 96, 97 off a mound, and kind of the same thing for a flat ground. Now, the other piece is obviously, you know, the adrenaline part, right? Everyone's got to have a spike of adrenaline once they're on a mound, whether it be a mound bullpen or a mound, you know, like in a game with a guy in the box. I'm a big adrenaline guy. I throw about 3 to 4 miles an hour harder in a game than I do in a practice setting. Kind of the same thing with a mound, right? Like if I'm on a mound in a game, that's going to look different due to the adrenaline, and it's going to look different than my flat ground. So like I said, all those links in the description below, so be sure to check those out if you're interested. Hopefully you got something from that. Robbie Rowland here, signing off. See you later.